thousands actually, who have reached out to me from all around the world, who have gone through something horrific and have told me that my albums really touched them and helped them come to terms with certain things. So, that's the highest honor to me, is just.
I'm excited for today. We're ending the year with a couple of Northport grads, fellow grads of mine, one of my good friends since middle school. Dan's rejoining the show. Dan, welcome back to That Entrepreneur Show.
Thank you for having me again, sir.
Of course, everyone, we're going to touch base on his last show, so don't worry. The link will also be in the bio for you to catch up after the show. But if it's your first time with us today, this is That Entrepreneur Show. Thank you so much for tuning in each week to help make this a top 2.5% global podcast. I look forward to continuing to bring inspiring entrepreneurs to you each week. But today, we're back here with Dan, inspiring as anyone we brought on the show. He was one of my first episodes in the beginning, set the plan in motion to exit the company, brought him back a few times, but his most recent time was to talk about the exit of his company. Now he's all in music, new album. But before we get to that, let's talk about how it's been with the exit since we last spoke.
Yeah, for sure. So I think we last spoke probably in April. I think we sold the company in March, but basically I was contracted to stay on through the end of the year, which it's now, we're recording this late December. So we're approaching that. And basically, we had to hit certain targets to get the second payout and really make everything complete. But that's all pretty much done. So we can pretty much say that the exit was a success. I've been in the background, as you know, really setting up this next thing, which is me focusing on music. This year's been super busy because I've had to do both things.
Well, congratulations on getting to this milestone. Big, big congratulations because you set
Thank you.
that plan in motion. You had an idea, you put it into the universe, you actualized it. And now it's bringing you towards being able to focus on one of your passions. Always been a lights out musician, from drums to singing to guitar. Now he's out here putting out his album. Dan, let's talk about what went into the album. Why did you craft it the way you did?
Yeah, yeah. So I would say in this day and age, albums are very rarely made, especially by independent musicians, especially by people who are not already established and have fans, right? The thought process is typically, what's the point of releasing an album when you don't have fans, right? Like, you're supposed to get fans by releasing singles, and then you give them an album as something to go deeper with. So typically what you hear online from gurus talking about, how to make it in music is don't waste your time with an album. However, I love albums. I love music. So that advice be what it was. The way that I released the album to the world was one song at a time. So it could kind of be the same marketing, the same social media presence as just releasing singles. But I did an album as in, one idea. I worked with the same producer. I went to Italy to record. We recorded the whole thing in one shot. So there's really just consistent themes, musically, songwriting, and everything else. It was just something I've always wanted to do. So I'm really happy that I finally got to do it. And I'm going to do it again. I mean, I think what I've done with recording as an album, releasing as singles, I think is probably a good approach. But I'm learning every day with this stuff. So
Well, you have to build your systems to have the systems, have to see what works, what doesn't. It's nice that you've got your routines now, and we're always better the second time around than the first time. Or not always, but
sure.
usually, at least for me, once I
Yeah.
know what I'm doing, I'm able to build on that and continue to grow. I'm going to ask this question. If everybody's checking out your album now, where everyone, you should click pause, go on Spotify, get them, download the album. What is one song they should check out and why?
I think my song Green Tank Top is a song that I really love, and it is it's kind of a poppy, catchy type of song, but it's also lyrically it's very sad. So it hits a bunch of things at one time with like the happy sad combination. I think I like a lot of songs like that. So that song really sticks out for me as a good one, and I think can really get people acclimated to what I'm trying to do. I think a lot of my other songs are just really sad. And if you're not in the mood for it, then I don't recommend starting there.
Well, I think whatever song they tune into, they're going to love it. We'll revisit this at the end, but let's plug the Spotify where we can find the music right now.
Yeah, sure. So my artist name is Man Gordan. It's two words, Man Gordan. It's out everywhere. So I put everything out on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. I'm on Instagram. I'm on all the things. So yeah, I shouldn't be too difficult to find me.
That's a great lesson too, is getting yourself in visibility in as many places as possible. Just because you like to listen on Apple, everybody else may not. Of course, we know Spotify as a competitor. What advice could you give to someone, Dan, who is thinking about making that first album? They've got that itty bitty committee in their head, wrestling with them. They're not going to do it. They want to do it back and forth. What finally gave you that push, that confidence to go out there, go against all the mainstream
Yeah.
advice, no album, no album, no album, and you kicked it anyway?
I mean, there's no reason to do what I'm trying to do unless like it's so deeply ingrained in you that you literally can't not do it. So, chasing my music dreams has been something that's been in the background since I was in like high school, probably. My whole life, I've thought about doing this, but didn't really give myself permission, or I would for a little bit of time and then I wouldn't catch momentum the way that I wanted to. So then I'd focus in something else because, again, I needed to make money. I needed to make sure that I was set up. I was never really personally willing to just be a truly starving artist. Maybe to my detriment. I think about that all the time. My advice, in my opinion, is like a little bit irrelevant because if you feel like I felt, you're just going to do it. It's not smart. It's not a good idea. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody who's trying to be successful or make money to try to go this route. But if you have just that thing inside of you that I have, which is just basically, I reached a recognition that I was not going to be happy unless I went all in this. And like there was no amount of money, there was no amount of success in other places. There was nothing that I could do to like plug this hole in my soul. And I tried. And I think that's why finally, like for me, I had to exit my company. I had to get to this point where it was like, all right, there's nothing else really that not to say that like I've done everything in my life and I'm so successful and blah, 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 but it is just like I'm at least successful enough to know that I need something more. And this something more is this music. I've always known that. So I guess my advice would be is if you're listening to this and you're someone like that, where you're doing one thing, but you know in the back of your mind that you really want to do something else and you have all these criteria for yourself, like I did, or like I'll follow my dreams when I do this other thing. Once it's summertime and I'm more free, I'll be able to do this. I guess what I would say is that's never going to go away. So you might as well just try to put gasoline on that fire because whether or not it works out for you or not, it's not going to go away.
Going to be something that comes up. You're 100% right. Like COVID, for example, right? That came out of nowhere. Then it's, oh,
Yep.
I got sick. Then something happens, right? I have more work at work. Very well said. I want to take you back in time. Let's talk about a meaningful song or some kind of music you made back in high school when this passion really started filling your bones that you still think about today.
Sure. I first started making music with our mutual friend Corey Riskin. So we had like tons of different bands and projects back in the day. And we really loved it was like pop punk, emo music that came out of Long Island, brands like Brand New, Taking Back Sunday, etc. So the first band we started was called Amateur Weapons. And we learned just like a ton about writing music and just really seeing how fulfilling and how fun it can be. I'm sure he would agree. I definitely think about bringing those songs back, maybe in a like maybe rewriting them, restructuring them, but then putting them out now today. Just because for that same thing, it's just like I'm doing this for myself. It's a pretty selfish pursuit of knowing that like I have this thing that I need to get out of my system. And I think it would just be really fulfilling to take some things that we created when we were 16 years old or whatever it was and really just give it what I believe it deserves, which was what all art deserves, which is just to become a finished product and be out in the world.
Do you still have some of these lyrics and songs written down, or we're gonna have to just go back from memory?
I mean, they're out there somewhere. Yeah, they're on like my old laptop or something. We have videos of us performing them. We attempted to record a couple of them. So yeah, there's bits and pieces. I would only redo the ones that really stuck anyway, that I can like probably like pretty much recall from memory. So there's probably just like three or four songs that come to mind that I could probably figure out. And like I said, if lyrics change, if things change, that's totally fine. It's just about yeah, just kind of going back and just having fun with that.
Absolutely love how you're highlighting having fun, chasing your passion, don't have regrets. If you have something in the back of your mind, you know my story, there may not be the next day to go chase that. So take Dan as
Exactly.
inspiration, go out there, whether it's music or it's podcasting or it's something, whatever makes you fired up when you wake up and you're thinking about it and it's ready to go chase it. But you did tease, Dan, you're going to do it again. You're going to do the second album again. What can you
Oh, yeah.
share with us? Maybe some themes. Is it going to be in Italy again? What can you share?
So most likely, so I'm definitely going to work with the same producer that I worked with on the first one. He's just become a close friend, and I don't use this word for a lot of people, genius, but he truly is a genius, and I'm really lucky to like be able to work with him. So I'm definitely going to work with him again, and I think it's going to be similar. So my first album just explored grief and losing my girlfriend, and what that was like, what the shock was like, what coming to terms with it was like. The next one's going to be pretty much the next step in that journey, where it's less about the shock and how to deal with it on a human level, but more of just like the existential crisis that having loved ones die brings you to, of just questioning, what's next for us, what are we doing here, all those big questions that have just been so heavy on my mind in a completely different way. They're on everyone's mind, but when you're really slapped in the face with something like this, you approach them in a whole new way. And I've been wrestling with that and writing a lot of songs around that. So I think that that's what the next album is going to focus on.
Well, you sure know she's looking down, happy for you, knowing that you're doing all this great work and now just continuing to grow your brand, your legacy, successful businessman, now going to be putting it out there. Top chart, Dan Gorman is going to be on those charts one day. This is someone you're going to want to follow, you're going to want to stick in touch with. Any advice now? We talked about some areas of advice. I want to keep getting it from you because I know you're a good guy to ask. For musicians out there, maybe searching for a producer, what are some
Mhm.
things you did to make that correct hire? As you said now, he became a close friend. That doesn't always
Yeah.
happen when things are rushed.
Yeah, so there's a website called soundbetter.com, and it's basically where you can go and find musicians to work with. So it's a really, really good resource. That's how I found my producer. I found other people that I've worked with on there. You can imagine like social media for musicians, or even like a dating app for musicians. So you can go and you can find people. They put examples of stuff that they've worked on, they put pricing or however they work with people. That's all kind of listed out in the open. And then you can just connect with them right there. And also, I would say too, is especially working with people in other countries, it's a lot less expensive, obviously, like everything, than it is here. So if you're a songwriter, especially, and you're just struggling getting something made, or making it sound professional, I mean, you could go on Sound Better, and for less than $500, you can get professional producer musicians to just bring your idea to life. And it's just a really, really cool thing that didn't exist 15 years ago. And now that it does exist, I mean, the sky's the limit.
I love how you're tapping into the big picture thinking for all of our guests, growing that global network. You may think you're small right now, but other people may not think you're small. I mean, this guy, Dan, I can't, well, how many listeners? I want to give you some more love here. You had in your Spotify Wrapped. Crazy
Yeah.
numbers he showed up. What can you share
Thank you.
about that?
It's good to trust the process, right? I think that's what it all comes down to, because I've been going hard at this thing pretty much for a year now. I mean, I've been making music for many years, but neglecting the promotion and marketing. I've been going hard at it for close to a year. And for the first 8 months of that year, I barely saw the needle move, right? It was just a couple people would listen to me a day. It was really just questioning, like, is this ever gonna work? And then in about August, I would say everything changed. I started getting 2,000 plus streams every single day. So in any given month, I'm doing over 60,000 plays, which again is not where I want to be. But coming from doing 1,000 plays a month to 60,000 plays a month certainly feels really good, and at least I feel like there's momentum there. So it's just the classic thing that you'll always hear, which is trust the process and just keep going. And every day it happens slowly and then all at once. I think I hit a checkpoint with getting that big rev up in August, and now I've been kind of plateaued around this area. But I'm pretty certain that if I just keep going hard, the next spike is going to be even bigger, and then the plateau is going to be higher. And I'm hoping if we talk in a year from now, Vin, that we'll be saying I'm doing at least double, maybe triple those numbers. That's the hope.
We absolutely will be talking again in a year, and you're providing so much hope and inspiration to our audience. So I thank you for that. You have to trust the process, and you have a proud friend from afar, just letting you know, even the process with me, I talked about recently being more vulnerable with entrepreneurship online. Like you, I didn't leverage marketing and stuff properly, where I really came home from a meeting to my electricity being powered down, right? I've been late on rent, all these things, but eventually small things happen and you see the growth and you do trust the process. You have to. Dan, what's one more thing that our followers, our subscribers, and listeners here today should know about your album, and then we'll touch on where to find it one more time as we sign off.
Once again, like the content of my album is not for everybody at all times. It's pretty deep, depressing type of music. But my goal for it was just to connect to, that part of humanity. I would say just give it a listen. And if it's not for you at this time in your life, I hope that it will be a tool for you when you do need it, because there's been a lot of people, thousands actually, who have reached out to me from all around the world who have gone through something horrific and have told me that my albums really touched them and helped them come to terms with certain things. So, that's the highest honor to me, is just being a tool for people when they need it. So yeah, I would just say give it a listen and just know that it's there.
I love it. And unfortunately, in life, it's not always sunshine. There are some difficult things that we have to experience, and you are helping countless and countless. And that's why I don't even say the number you shared, because it's only going to continue to grow. You're helping people get back. And you've done such a magnificent job at getting back. You're shining again, smiling again. Dan, it's great to see you on here. I really appreciate you taking time to keep in touch with me, of course, over the year, but also just checking in with me and the followers and listeners on this show. You're one of our top guests. They always appreciate you coming back. So thanks again. One more time, website, social, Spotify, whatever you got.
Sure. It's just it's Man Gordan everywhere. Instagram, Spotify, anywhere that you can find people or music, it's Man Gordan. And I'll just say to you as well, Vin, your consistency has been really inspiring. I mean, when you've been going hard at this thing probably, 5+ years, and I just see the consistency. And then like we talked about with me, it's just you're doing it, you're doing it, you're doing it, nothing's happening, and then growth, and then growth, and then just building that momentum. And just over the long term, all you can do is be extremely consistent, which you have been, and that's been really inspiring.
You're too kind, man. You're always a good friend to me. And it really is. Was you take time to reflect, which I try to do more and more often, because then you don't learn and grow without it. About 18, 19 months ago, I'm still in the restaurant squeezing rent sometimes. And now with me, I've got 16 people on the team.
Oh
And it's
yeah,
that
that's awesome.
little couple months. So everyone use Dan as a resource with his music. Use him as a resource as a person. He's someone great to have in your corner. As you could tell, very, very inspirational. And still, even after exiting a company, even after an album, he's just getting started. So I, for one, can't wait to have him back on the show. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And please give the show a subscribe, a like, a review for our guest. Let him know how well he did. Tune in every week for another entrepreneur to join our show. My name is Vincent A. Lanci, and you can find me at vincentalanci.com or Vincent A. Lanci on all social and YouTube. Today's show is brought to you by Coming Alive Podcast Production. Head to ComingAlivePodcastProduction.com to get your journey started today. But with that, we're signing off. Two guys from Northport High School. Dan, thanks again.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.